Hello again, and welcome to Marketing with Purpose. Today, I am going to be replaying a Facebook Live that I had the privilege of doing with the creative and innovative Miss Adonica Coleman. Now, she owns an event planning company in my hometown, Columbia, Missouri, called A2D Events. Now, I think what is refreshing about talking to Adonica is that she's actually really excited about doing virtual events. And she says she's got a whole notebook full of ideas that she can't wait to implement for people because to her, while she could be looking at this like a setback, instead she's looking at this like an opportunity and a way to help her clients do something that she's felt like they should be doing for a long time. So hopefully you enjoy this conversation with Adonica as much as I did. I love her energy. I know you will too. She is definitely a glass half full lady.
If you're a natural-born marketer, you're one lucky son of a gun. If you're like most people, marketing, especially online marketing, is about as appealing as standing in a police lineup. The May Create team of creatives has transformed websites and digital marketing from craptastic to fantastic since 2005. Our podcast, Marketing with Purpose, makes sense of marketing so you can make purposeful decisions instead of carrying on with the same old crap you've been doing. And now your host, Monica Pitts, founder of May Create, with another episode on how to make your marketing not suck.
Now, just one last thing before we get into this conversation. We just announced the date for our online fundraising event bootcamp. It is August 5th. That is the big day. So here's how this thing is going to roll. I interviewed a number of people who are super, super smart and know all kinds of things about planning virtual events. And they are all ready for you in an on-demand video library. We talked about things like how to plan virtual golf tournaments, galas, 5Ks, trivia nights. We talked about how to give value to your sponsors and how to keep people engaged, even how to do live streaming events. So I'm really excited about all these conversations. I know that you will love experiencing them as much as I did, and you will learn a ton. And my team has been very busy because they already watched all these videos. They made recipe cards for you with all of those tips and tricks so that you don't even have to take notes. We have a form next to each one of these videos where you can submit questions for our experts. And then when we get together on August 5th, we're going to ask those questions to our experts virtually live. The other really cool thing, actually, there's like maybe two more cool things that we're going to do on August 5th. The first one is that we are going to give to you our event promotion recipe, your emails, your social posts. We're going to give you templates for those so that way you don't have to start from scratch, and I'll explain to you exactly how you're going to use them. And then last but not least, we are also going to be giving away a scholarship to our up-and-coming nonprofit marketing fundamentals online course. There's so much goodness, guys, and go on out to youmaycreate.com. That's youmaycreate.com/bootcamp and get registered today. It's only $20. It's a steal. Really, it is. And it's because I want to make sure that you have everything that you need to solve these problems right now. And I think that my really intelligent friends have gotten it done for me. So thank you. This was a huge team effort, and I can't wait to see you there. Now let's get to business.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Marketing with Purpose. Today we're doing a Facebook Live with the wonderful Miss Adonica Coleman, and I'm so happy that we found the time to get together have this fun conversation. So the other day I posted on Facebook about any creative ideas that anybody had about running online fundraisers, and Adonica messaged me, and then we had like this marvelous conversation, and we were both very excited and just super jazzed. There were a lot of positive energy flowing, and I felt like I had to bring all of that energy out to all of you so you could hear Adonica's outlook as a professional event planner on what has been a pretty actually devastating season for social gatherings, if I'm quite frank. So Adonica, let's start off by you tell me about A2D Events. I know that you founded it in 2011. So what was your journey in starting this business, and how specifically has working with nonprofits helped you shape your business?
Well, first, let me just say thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be with you today. We did have a wonderful conversation. And I think every conversation I've had with anybody concerning the state of events right now, and I start talking about the possibilities, I get super excited, and so it's good for me to be able to share this with a broader audience. So yes, I started A2D Events in 2011. I was just coming off of, a couple years of staying home with the kids. And originally, some people don't know that I was an interior designer by trade. And when I moved here, I was doing staging, and Monica would know that because Monica was probably one of the very first people that I met, and she helped me do some marketing things with my staging business back then. I totally remember that. We lost contact for a whole lot of years, but here we are together again. And so when the housing market, crashed in 2008, I needed to figure out something different to do. I stayed home for a couple of years. And then I was asked by a friend to help plan his wife's 40th surprise birthday party. And I ended up just kind of taking that completely over. And I loved it. And I thought, maybe I can make a career out of this. And so I did start off doing a lot of social events, a lot of parties. And, I got kind of into kids parties for a long time, but they were like the big Pinterest over the top kids parties where the parents just show up, Uh-huh. And that was very fun. And I'm going to tell you, I learned a lot about working with people. And I think my very first nonprofit event, I had a friend who was the president of the Home Builders Association at the time. And she came to me and said, I know this is not really in your wheelhouse, but we really need to do a membership drive and a golf tournament as a fundraiser. And I said, I haven't done it before, but we can figure it out together. And we did. And it's kind of been, it's history from there. I decided I really liked fundraising, corporate events and community events. And so that's kind of where I've concentrated my efforts over the years.
I know that you work with a lot of nonprofit organizations, both volunteering and event planning. Tell me about how you're helping. Tell me about your endeavors.
I'll say I started off, I always call it my first volunteer gig here, was at Granny's house, which is down in Douglas Park in Columbia. And I started volunteering there with the girls group, I think in like 2008 or 9. And then I got my husband involved in volunteering with the young men's group. And so, as we're in there and we're doing the work, I started to think of these ideas. Oh, we could do this to raise money. Oh, we can do that to raise money. And then that turned into being brought on by Granny's house to plan all their events and their fundraisers. And they were, again, one of those small, local nonprofits that couldn't afford to bring in, a fundraiser on a full-time basis. But once we started fundraising for them, I saw all the possibilities. I'm really big on trying to do something a little bit different than just the typical gala, formal dinner that everybody's used to. And so my first big fundraising event that I came up with the concept all on my own was glamping for grannies. And it was a combination of glamour and camping. And so people didn't have to get dressed up, and they loved it. They loved it. It was amazing. So, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. So they love that. And I just, I always try to think outside of the box when dealing with nonprofits and think of something a little bit different than what people are used to.
But you're still like tying it into their core values and trying to make sure that it, speaks to their audience. And like any of you guys who are always like looking for ideas or just enjoy the creative spirit of event planning, I love watching all your posts come through on Facebook. Sometimes I admit that I have a little bit of mom envy because I'm like, there's no, especially when you were doing the kids events, I'm like, and my kid's birthday party looks like a, blow up pool in the backyard, and that's it. But here you put out like this huge spread, and it's like Beautiful. So definitely check out Adonica's Facebook feed because there's always fun things. You're very active on Facebook. I see your posts all the time, lots of pictures and good stuff going on there.
People are visual, so those work well.
Yeah. So I know that you're invested in our community. I also just saw that you became a business coach with the Missouri Women's Business Center. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Yes. And that's another thing. Well, you'll find that I'm very excited a lot of the time. I'm also very excited about that opportunity. It's interesting when I saw them post for a few positions for business coaches and some part-time ones. I thought, oh, let me look at this and read this through and see who I can refer, for this. And as I started reading it, I thought, gosh, that sounds like something I'd like to do. I love working with women. And I would love to be able to share any knowledge that I've learned over the years with women who are trying to start businesses or who need help growing their businesses. And I will say that I am also very happy that the Business Center recognized that they were missing a whole community of people and wanted to specifically focus at least one of their part-time positions on helping minority women in business. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, I am ready to go. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm really excited and looking forward to helping some people get some businesses launched and hopefully helping them grow some businesses. I mean, we need some more women-led businesses in this town.
I love women-led businesses. And one of the cool things about doing consulting is every time that I do consulting for somebody, I feel like it's just an opportunity for me to look back at my own processes and my own ways of doing things. And it makes me actually a better business person because I'm continually evaluating like, okay, well, I just told this person to do, I mean, it can be down to like a pop-up on your website. I just told them that they should put this pop-up on their website to do more email signups. And then I'm like, what does my pop-up look like?
Yes, 110%, you are correct.
Like, what was the last time I looked at that thing? I don't even know. so then I'm like, Katie, we gotta look at our pop-ups. And she's like, oh God, here goes Monica. So it feels like all of us have felt the impact of COVID in very different ways. And event planners have been hit like really hard. And I know that you watched it firsthand. And I'm certain that now the special events show in Las Vegas probably feels like a million years ago. So tell me that story. Tell me how, like, your first realization that this was going to be like crazy.
Okay. I'm also a very part-time adjunct instructor over at Stevens in the event and convention management department. And so we have been planning, I took 9 students over to the special event show in Las Vegas. And of course, we were all so excited. They're 20 and 21 years old, and some of them are going to Las Vegas for the first time. So, yeah. And I was excited to go to this show because this was my first time going. And it is one of the largest event shows in the country. And we get there and, there had been talks of COVID right before we went. And we had the conversations with our administrators about, what precautions we should take. And we called the event show to find out what precautions they were taking and what precautions the hotels were taking. And we were like, okay, we're good to go. We all know what to do. And we get there. And of course, when you're in a convention, in a large convention hotel like that, you're kind of in your own bubble, you're in your own space. And we get there. And by midweek, I start getting these texts, text after text after text, because I actually had the wedding stroll in the district planned for that Sunday when we returned. And so I started getting texts saying, are we still going to do this? Are we still going to do this? Are we still going to do this? And I had been in the convention bubble. So I hadn't been watching the news or really TV or anything. And then I think by Thursday, my phone was ringing off the hook. And then we got the call from the university, from Stevens saying, hey, we're going to have you guys quarantine when you come back. Don't come back to this campus. And if you do, you have to stay in these particular rooms. And so I thought, okay, this is way more serious than what I was thinking. And then when we were in one of our morning activities with thousands and thousands of event planners from all over the world, really, we could see people looking at their phones. And then the word started spreading that people were dropping contracts, that contracts were being broken, and people were saying, nope, we're not moving forward with that. And some of these were like multi-million-dollar events. We have event producers from all over the world at this show. And I remember thinking to myself on the flight back, I don't know if our industry will ever be the same. It certainly changed in that moment. I knew that our industry was forever changed.
Now, the news for event planners, it was obviously like terrible. And every event that we had signed up for was just like canceled. And Stacy and I were like, whoa, how are we going to keep making friends with people? How are we going to keep maintaining these relationships? And I know that some people they were just writing the year off, and they told you that you needed to write the year off. But you did not. You were like, I'm going to the drawing board. I'm going to find solutions. So tell me, like, what kind of solutions are you presenting right now?
Okay. So I do remember sitting on what I thought was one of the more comprehensive panels that I got a chance to watch. It was with a lot of national event planners and like an ex-Homeland Security advisor. And I remember her saying specifically, 2020 big events, write them off. I totally remember her saying that. And I remember thinking, gosh, how can you write off a whole year of live events? I knew what she was saying in theory, but I kept thinking these non-for-profits, especially, I was thinking more of my non-for-profit customers. They have to be able to continue to fundraise. Yeah. And there has to be a way that they can fundraise and make money, even in the midst of this very strange year that we're in, where nobody really knows what the future is going to hold. And so what I did was decided that I'm going to embark upon finding some type of virtual event platform that works. So I spent countless hours, I don't even know how many, sitting in on virtual demos, all the different companies. I will tell you, Monica, when this very first started, when COVID first became this huge thing, there were probably 3 or 4 virtual event platform companies. Mm-hmm. Within weeks, they started popping up all over the place. And I knew right then that I was like, okay, this is going to be like a huge, huge thing. And they started popping up. And so I started going to every demo, everyone. And I got through everyone. But I'm like, there has to be a solution, right? There's got to be something out here that works for nonprofits that need to raise money. Mm-hmm. So I'm a creative thinker. And so I started thinking outside the box. Okay, how can we incorporate some type of physical thing with the people who are watching virtually to make them feel more tied in? I see how we can do a webinar, but how could we do a gala virtual? So my mind started going to all these different aspects. Like, we got to find a way to make this interesting, because people can click off your virtual event super quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like worse than a channel changer. Gone.
Oh my gosh, just out of here, I'm bored, click off, and nonprofits, we can't have that. We got to have people engaged so they can make some money.
Yeah. So where did you come around to then? I mean, I think I remember you telling me that you actually didn't find one that fit all your needs. So you went to the drawing board, right?
I did. I felt like there were good parts in a lot of the ones that I watched, that I demoed. But I didn't feel like there were any that were custom enough. I don't know. Mm-hmm. They felt a little cookie cutter to me. Like, with this particular one, you can do webinars. With this particular one, you can do meetings with a chat function. But I was like, well, where's the one for the live, where you want to bring in entertainment and I just was not really finding that. And so I just decided, well, I'm going to try to create one on my own. And so that's what I did. I just went to the drawing board and I said, there's a way. And so what's interesting is the way I ended up partnering with my AV and tech vendor. I did not really know the right person locally to connect with. because I felt like it was a lot and it seemed strange what I was asking for.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to do this, 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 and this, and this, and this. And I didn't feel like it fit really in a box, right? Where I could just call a company and be like, hey, here's what I want. I was on a National Event Planners Facebook board, and I think some tech person posted a post that said, hey, can I have you guys check out my website? I've been live streaming since 1989, but I feel like my website's very out of date because I've never really had to, like I'm known around here, and so I get the business, but now, I'm getting all these calls. I feel like I need to update. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning, Monica. And I was just in the bed kind of scrolling, and I was like, oh, let me just look and see what this person does. And when I looked, I thought, this is the kind of person I need. Somebody who kind of knows how to do everything.
Yeah.
And who understands events. So not just, the tech part, but you also understand events and what I would need this to do. And so I just responded to his post with a comment and asked if I could send him a message. And I did. And we just started talking. And once we got live on the phone, like we were on the phone the first time for like 2 hours, and I can do this. And, oh, can you do that? Yeah, and I can do that. Oh, that's no problem. And over the months, we just developed this working relationship. And now we've got that platform ready to go. And I'm thrilled with the outcome.
Yay. I'm sure that all your clients will be super thrilled too, because it's going to make this so much easier for them. I just was like going through time-saving tips for event, planning your online fundraising event. And one of them was, hey, maybe you don't have to figure this all out on your own. I know that you're going to have to invest in a solution like working with A2D Events, or another event planner. But it feels like if you, sometimes they just know so much more about promoting the event, about running the event. And if you're a really, really small organization and you only have 1 to 2 people, but you have the budget to hire somebody to do it, it feels like, dang, like, why not? Like, the outcomes are really great. I've seen so many great outcomes that way.
Yes, and that is what, even in live event planning, especially with nonprofit organizations, I always say, I know it feels scary to output this financial piece up front. Like, I do understand that. But a lot of times, we were talking about this before we came on the air, I am big on finding people who are good at specific things that they do. And so for nonprofits, you are good at serving the community in that way. An event is a lot of times a very different thing. It's a very different thing, and it has its own nuances. And, you have to know your audience, and you have to know, kind of what works and what doesn't with that particular audience. And so an event planner, most times, the one who's been dealing with these particular organizations, they kind of know, they've seen it, and they have that experience. And they bring that experience into your nonprofit, and it almost always ends up being a benefit in the long run.
Yeah, and you'll learn things from working with them too. I know that whenever I have the opportunity to work with other professionals, I'm just like, wow, you're so smart. It's so great to get that experience. So I know that online events are not like a new thing to you, though. Like, you've been wanting to do these for a while, but you were getting like some resistance from people. Are you having less resistance now, or are people just like jumping in, or?
Well, now, even from, I would say from March, when COVID kind of first started, I was reaching out to my clients that I knew were going to have fundraisers coming up or planned either in the summer or the fall or winter of this year. And I tried to be proactive and say, hey, maybe we should consider virtual, or maybe we should consider some type of online. And I will tell you that a lot of people just didn't know what I was talking about. They just didn't understand. And because too, nobody knew how long COVID was going to last, or was it going to be over in, after 2 weeks of lockdown or whatever. People were very optimistic that, well, we can just postpone our live event and then we can just do it in a couple months. And you can only postpone for so long and keep pushing back for so long. And then I even said, hey, you'll run into a backlog if everybody keeps pushing their events back, for 2 months. then you're going to run into a backlog. Where are you going to have the event? Everybody's going to be booked up because everybody has pushed their thing back. Let's think of a way that we can get some money coming into your organization right now, because the people that you serve, they still need you, maybe even in these times more than ever. And so we have to keep that funding coming in for them. So yeah, I got pushed back and people didn't understand, but I'll tell you now that people are kind of seeing the larger picture. And we've got these, the numbers are down and then they're up, and, you can have 50 people or you can have, and how do you plan around that? How do you plan around that when you could start planning your event today where they're saying, you can have 200 people as long as they're socially distanced properly. And then, 2 months later, the numbers have gone up and, you're, God forbid, you're back to, you can only have 50 people. So how do you plan for that? And so that's when I thought it was very important we can plan a live event and have a plan B, or we can just go in and figure out the best virtual event that we can have.
Yeah. I think that October, if we're totally open as a community, or as open as we can be, is going to be donors worn out from events month. I think that everybody's going to do it in October, and it's just going to be like, but we'll see. So one of the other things that we both agree on is how virtual events can actually have a lot of benefits for the people who choose to do them. They can build and reach a new audience that maybe they haven't had the opportunity to come in contact with before, and sometimes they're far less expensive to run. And, you were saying that you really feel like it should be part of the mix. It shouldn't just be in-person events.
Yes, because if you think about the financial output of a live event, I mean, and this is, and I could be shooting myself in the foot, but this is just, I like to be transparent and honest. Live events cost a lot of money. When they're well done and you have a group of 400 people coming to one place and, they have to eat and, you have open bar for an hour or two or whatever. I mean, they can get pretty pricey. And so I will tell you that as a planner of those kinds of events, the pressure builds from the beginning. As you're planning, you're looking at those numbers and you're like, okay, so we got to raise this much money to even cover the costs. Virtual events, they're not as expensive. They're not. I mean, you pay for good production, pay for entertainment if you need it, do those things, but they will not be as expensive on the front end as a live event. And so while I'm not advocating for live events to go away, I am saying that I know that there will be some people who at the end of this year will look at the numbers and say, oh gosh, we raised more during this virtual event, and our expenses were not as high. And so maybe instead of having 3 live events a year, you may have 2 virtual and 1 live event. So I am by no means am I saying, oh, live events should just go away. No, we as humans, we thrive on that personal interaction. Yeah. I love being in the room with people. There is nothing I love more than when guests first arrive at a live event and, the wow and the, oh my gosh, I really love that part. And being able to make that personal connection with people from the stage. And I say that because I MC some things too. Making that personal connection is important. And sometimes, you get people that they get in the room with you and they feel that energy and they give more than they were planning to, which is always nice.
Yeah, for sure. And it is hard to find that energy online. Yeah. I mean, I know that from doing webinars and
yes,
it's just, man, sometimes you're just hanging out in an empty room.
I know.
Yourself.
Talking to this video screen,
Yeah. I'm like, was that even a joke or was that just in poor taste? I don't know. I just don't know anymore.
I know.
So, what would you tell people who are considering hosting a virtual fundraising event right now?
I would tell them to explore the possibilities. I would also tell them not to be afraid of it and not to automatically think, oh God, that's not going to work. because I know that that's the mindset in some areas. Oh, that's just not going to work. Especially if you have a connection with someone, or if you know someone there are other people in Columbia that are in this space right now. Talk to people and say, hey, how's this worked out for other clients? Tell me what you're able to do. What benefits, do you offer in the virtual space? Because there are some things that can be done. And you know what? Even if you do a virtual event let's say you're used to bringing in $25,000 at a live event, and you do a virtual event and it brings in 10, but you've only spent, $2,000 as opposed to spending, $12,000 to raise the 25. I mean, money coming into a non-for-profit is money coming into a non-for-profit. And there are, like I said, I am big on creative ways to make your virtual event feel different from the last virtual event you saw. And there are ways to do that. I have a whole notebook full of ideas, It's just about spreading them out to the right clients.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's totally awesome. Yes, I totally agree with you. And I feel like with the virtual events, in my experience, and I only run one big one, part of, Como Gives with the Community Foundation. And sometimes it does take a little bit of time for people to latch onto the idea and be okay with it being virtual. But I know that if you do it the first time and then you do it again, and you did a good job the first time, then the second time is going to be even bigger. And it's like that with any event, right? The first year that you do that gala, it's not going to be as good as the second year, So I'm excited to see how things can trend online.
And you're right, Monica. You learn from the first one, right? You learn, okay, I won't do that again. I will do that. Let's expand on this part. And that's how you learn. And that's how the events get better and better, whether they're live or virtual. So I think that kind of putting your eggs in that basket and saying, hey, maybe let's look into this, or, let's at least talk to somebody and see what the possibilities are. I think that's the first step and the way to go. And a lot of times you can probably get a virtual event going much faster than you can a live one.
Yeah, well, just not having to find the space and pick the menu are probably, especially in our town where we do have some larger event venues, but we only have like one or two. So if you're going to have something big, you just don't have a lot of options here to do it. And we have a lot of great smaller venues that are really fun and authentic feelings. So that makes it fun. But
Columbia is very fortunate. We have some great venues in this town, large and small. And I'm always amazed by how a town the size that it is supports so many great nonprofits. I mean, Columbia supports their organizations.
Yeah, well, that's what makes us such a great community is that we have these organizations that do care about people, that are doing everything right now from figuring out a way to deliver lunches to kids all over the community to figuring out a way to deliver Wi-Fi to people who don't have it. I mean, like, wow. They're like, we're going to put Wi-Fi in buses and we're going to go park them in places. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's amazing.
It's really, really impressive. And I mean, even just watching the animal related organizations and how they were like, all right, everybody needs to foster a dog right now. And everybody just came together and took in a new dog and brought it home. And I was like, holy cow, you people are amazing. Like,
it really is.
We do live in a really wonderful place for sure.
We do. I agree.
Okay. So we're going to wrap this up. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Adonica. As always, it's a pleasure to be part of this energy that you bring to the table. And I hope that those of you who experienced this conversation with us can feel some of that excitement and bring some of that home with you so that you can go forth and make an event that makes you really proud. Where can they find you to connect, Adonica?
So a couple places. So I am on Facebook and Instagram at A2D Events, and that's the number 2. A2D Events, super easy to find me there. You can send me a message. And also, we will be dropping our new demo video for our new live virtual platform, which is called Venue Live, by the way. So I'll put that on my Facebook page and Instagram page today so people can get a little taste of how that works. And we are setting up the website for that at exciting.venuelive.solutions. So that's
Yay.
another place where you can go and see that video and contact us. And we are just excited to help any and all organizations tailor something specific to their needs. So I'm excited about the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much.
Doesn't she just have the best outlook? I love her tenacity and the way that she just will not take no for an answer. She is so positive. It's just absolutely refreshing. Now, if you are working on planning an online event right now, I want to just give you a quick reminder that we do have our upcoming online fundraising event bootcamp. I would love to see you there. It is on-demand content plus a short live event with question and answer session. We cover everything from virtual 5Ks, trivia nights, golf tournaments, galas. I mean, really so many different things, how to give value to your sponsors, how to run a streaming event, and how to market your event. So definitely check it out. It's only $20. You can hop on over to youmaycreate.com/bootcamp and register now. And that is all I have for you today. So thank you so much for your time. I know it's so very valuable. And get out of here. You've got other things to do. Go forth and market with purpose.
Thanks again for listening to Marketing with Purpose. Head over to maycreate.com, MAYECREATE.com. Yeah, you heard me right, MAYECreate.com for podcast notes and more resources to grow your business. Don't let your marketing suck. Get your pride on, market with purpose.